I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Finance meeting for Monday, November 20th, 2017 to order. Before we move on to the agenda, we're going to have some swearing in. As most of you are aware, there was an election a couple of weeks ago, and we have some new board members, two new board members and one longtime veteran who have opted to be sworn in before the meeting. Probate Judge Peter Barrett, also a Guilford resident, is here to do the swearing in. And Jonathan, I think you get first honors.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I think they probably want to see you more than me.
That's a good call.
Okay, Jonathan. Raise your right hand, please. I will, sir. You do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, the duties of the office of board member of the Board of Finance to the best of your abilities, so help you God.
I will, so help me God.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Next up, and welcome, Veronica Wallace.
Thank you. Good.
Okay. Veronica, you do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, the duties of the office of board member of the Board of Finance to the best of your abilities, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And my longtime friend and board member, Ken Gammerman.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, the duties of the office of board member of the Board of Finance to the best of your abilities, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you very much.
And for the record, Jeff Beattie has already been sworn in. Congratulations as well.
Thank you so much.
First item on the agenda is election and appointments. 1.1 would be election of Chairman Pro Temp. Is there a nomination for Chairman Pro Temp?
Make a motion for Matt Bowie to be Chairman Pro Temp.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mike. Item 1.2, election of chair in accordance with Section 6.1 of the Guilford Town Charter. Are there any nominations for chair? Ken?
I'd like to nominate Mike Ailes as chairman of the Board of Finance. Mike has a long and excellent career here with the board. He's volunteered in any number of capacities and has gotten to know the intricacies of the issues that we face and mastered them. And I'm very proud to nominate Mike as chairman.
I'll ask for a second, and then I'll give it. I second the nomination of Mike Ailes. Mike is an extraordinarily generous volunteer in this community, has been for a number of years. The Board of Finance is only a piece of his activities, and I think the board will be in excellent hands with Mike as chair over the next 2 years. So I
4 years.
2 years. So there'll be another election in 2 years.
Midterm.
That's right. There'll be another election in 2 years. That's right. I second the nomination. Are there any other nominations?
Move the nominations be closed.
Is there a second on closing the nominations?
Second.
All in favor of closing the nominations? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? None. On the motion of Mike Ailes as chairman of the Board of Finance, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Mike, congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know if I should vote for myself, so
You're allowed to.
All right, aye.
You're allowed to vote for yourself.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, we're going to swap name tags, too. Thank you.
Yeah, as you're going to hear, it's going to be a hard act to follow. I don't think I want that nameplate right now. So,
I'll save my comments in a little bit. Next item on the agenda, 1.3 election of vice chairman in accordance with section 610 of the Guilford Town Charter. Do I hear nominations for vice chairman of the Board of Finance?
I nominate Ken Garriman to be Vice Chair of the Board of Finance. Ken has served on this board for 25-plus years. He's been a tremendous board member, always able to hone in on the exact nature of issues with his in-depth questions and his ability to explain his points and what's important to the voters. His continual questioning of both the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen has just been a tremendous asset to this board over the years. And he has also served faithfully, I think, for at least 20 years. Was it 20 years as vice chair? I think so.
I think so.
And despite his contention a couple of times that it was going to be a coup, he has had the best interest of this board at his heart the entire time. So I heartily endorse Ken Garriman for vice chair.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Move the nominations be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor of Ken Garriman as vice chairman of the Board of Finance?
Aye.
Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice
Thank you.
Chairman. Next item, 1.4, appointment of clerk to the Board of Finance in accordance with Section 6.1 of the Guilford Town Charter. It has come to my attention that Tracy Brinkman may want to do this one more time. With that being the case, do I hear a motion for appointment of clerk to the Board of Finance?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I forgot to say opposed the first time, but I think we got a unanimous. So yeah, I'll get this thing going. All right, thank you very much. Before we move into public forum, I debated on whether to do public forum and have a few comments. I hope you will all indulge me in a few comments. I think this is the one time that it might be appropriate. After this, I will be very much on the neutral side as far as saying anything and keep my mouth shut, but I felt it was very appropriate at this particular time. So I do have some prepared comments to keep me online. First, I am incredibly humbled to have the support of all of you to take on this position that has been filled honorably, honestly, and with a great deal of respect for 24 years, Matt Hoey. For these reasons and many more, why he will be leaving the Board of Finance and this chair position to become our next First Selectman following another honorable, hardworking, and effective First Selectman, Joe Mazza. Thank you for showing up right on cue. That's perfect. Without a doubt, and I'm sure you all agree, Matt's act is a very hard one to follow as Board of Finance Chairman, and I accept this position with a remarkable amount of gratitude and admiration for his service in this role to the town of Guilford. Despite the importance of his new role in town, he will be missed from the Board of Finance, and on behalf of the entire Board of Finance, I wish him well in his first term as Guilford's first Selectman and look forward to working with Matt and the rest of the Board of Selectmen in the years to come. Speaking of the Board of Selectmen, I would also like to congratulate another one of my now former Board of Finance colleagues for his election to the Board of Selectmen, who's not here this evening, but I did talk to him, Lou Federici. Since I joined the Board of Finance in 2007, Lou has been seated to my left, helping to guide me through my early years on the board with many helpful hints to guide me along, answer questions that I thought were probably silly or rookie comments, and even provided a sense of humor, jokes, and laughter along the way. We will also miss Lou's ability on the Board of Finance to consistently seek balance between Guilford's needs and interests, but he now brings that experience to the Board of Selectmen. And for that, I and the Guilford citizens should be truly grateful. But now, instead of Lou, I have the privilege to sit alongside, continue to learn from, and be mentored by Ken Garriman. First, Ken, I congratulate you on your re-election for the 7th consecutive term to the Board of Finance. As we all know well, Ken has been a meticulous and detailed review of both our town and Board of Education finances and has been especially valuable as chairman of the annual Joint Board of Finance, Board of Education Budget Subcommittee yearly, and numerous times as the vice chairman of this board, as you've already heard, of which he will retain, with also a great deal of admiration. Ken's 24 years of experience in this board is needed now more than ever due to the change of faces and the continued outside challenges we must address. As far as I'm concerned, the leadership of this board will be a team effort, with Ken's knowledge keeping us on track as it always has. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
The elections are over, and I congratulate all those who have been elected to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education, Board of Assessment Appeals, and of course, the Board of Finance. And I have been on the Board of Finance for over a decade now, and every person who has served on this board has been diligent, collaborative, thoughtful, fair, and respectful of our sometimes varied positions and viewpoints. These are all individuals who care deeply about our town and are passionate about the values we expect as residents and as taxpayers. First, I do want to thank Peter Golitz for his service to the town of Guilford on this board and wish him very, very, very well in the future. Peter brought to the Board of Finance's knowledge and experience regarding pensions and national and state trends which might affect our decisions on a monthly basis. I sincerely hope he continues to stay involved in public service to Guilford. He has much to offer. Veronica Wallace, congratulations on your election to this board and welcome back to public service, of which you have many years of experience. It is a pleasure to have you alongside us, and I believe so are our residents. With your vote totals, the most votes of any candidate running for office this year, including for selectmen. Well done. To Jeff Beatty and Jonathan Trotta, congratulations on your election to this board, and I welcome you both back to the Board of Finance. I truly look forward to working with you, Ken McKenzie, who will return at our regular December meeting, Ken, Veronica, and a member yet to be named to replace Matt in a bipartisan fashion as it always has been. And finally, yes, I'm now at the end of my comments and then I will shut up. I know without hesitation that Guilford is in great fiscal shape, largely due to all of the people I've mentioned this evening. And I believe without hesitation that Guilford will continue to strive not to just maintain, but to improve our fiscal condition and outlook over the coming years with those that are now seated in the positions we as a collective community have elected. Ken, I thank you humbly and with a great deal of humility for your kind words and nomination of me as chair, and I thank you all for your support and confidence of me in this role. However, our elected boards have always been a team effort, and though I look forward to this new role, one does not typically move into a role such as this fluently when its predecessor has been in it for 24 years. With both new and experienced Board of Finance members, I promise to do all I can to continue the collaborative, bipartisan, transparent, and value-based effort we have all been known for as an elected Guilford board. Along with the other hardworking boards and commissions in town, we will remain a community of choice by working together to allow our residents and businesses to live, learn, and or work here because of the value we see every day. That is all. Thank you for obliging me with the comments.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Let's move on with the regular meeting. Item number 2, public forum limited to 3 minutes on the agenda. Anybody wish to address the board in public forum?
Mike, if you don't mind, I might just add a little as well. I wanted to give a tip of the hat to our outgoing chairman, Matt Hoey, for 20-plus years of public service, almost 25? 26. And, of course, to our outgoing first selectman, Joe Mazza. Also, I think, 2 decades of public service. And a little special recognition to Veronica Wallace, who's kind of new to joining our board here. Welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments? Public forum. Okay, moving right along. Item number 3, approved minutes of the 3.1 regular meeting minutes of October 16, 2017. Now I have to find all my paperwork. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion or corrections? I do know that there were a number of items that Mary Jane had addressed that were open from the last meeting minutes. So we're all good. I know everyone. Hopefully everyone got the email, but everything was answered from what I could tell.
It was. We're very happy to get the capital reports. Bravo.
I think we'll be addressing those later. Any comments on the minutes? Yes.
Oh, I have a comment on, first of all, thank you for your overly generous comments, you and Matt.
You're welcome. Deserved.
On item 8, new business, Mr. Hoey said this morning the Board of Selectmen voted to accept the SAFER grant, and I think to make the minutes complete, we should identify what that SAFER grant consisted of, the amount of money in the SAFER grant. Matt did go on to add additional firefighters to bring down the response time. They will need $106,000 in this budget year. But what was the total of the SAFER grant? I think that should be part of the record.
Was that brought up during the meeting?
I don't believe it was. The SAFER grant was going to cover 75% of the cost the first year, 75% of the cost the second year, and 30% for the third year. I'm not sure we ever actually identified that number. I think there was some discussion also that we mentioned that the estimated cost will be somewhere around $1 million at the end of the SAFER grant. So the year that we have to pay for it in its entirety, it's about $1 million.
It's based on your salaries on the current year. And benefits on the current year.
Any other comments, questions? There was only one that I found. It's right below that in new business. It just said, Mr. Mazza said, and it should say they. That was the only thing I saw. Okay. All in favor of the meeting minutes of October 16th? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Okay, next item, 4.1, correspondence, standing building committee minutes. Well, this is interesting, me being in this position, I could give my own report. No. I did actually attend the meeting, but it was election night, so I didn't stick around for that long. But I was there for a little while. I think what I'm going to do is just ask if anybody has any comments regarding standing building committee minutes. I know we received them towards the end of last week, and they were a draft version that were sent both digitally, and I think they arrived in our packets, which I still waiting on my package from the move. Anybody have anything they want to bring up?
Just curious if there's any new interest for new members to join.
Yes, there was.
Oh, that's good news.
I know we have a member of the building committee here. There was a gentleman by the name of Sean Acree.
I believe he's been voted on by the
Yes.
selectmen.
Okay. So, he came to the meeting and wanted to learn more and actually considered becoming a member, and now I guess he is one. So that worked out pretty well. So yes, and I think that's one of the things that we're going to continue to do is try to get people to, on not just standing building, but other committees in the future, try to get the word out there. Ken, did you have something?
I did have something to add on the item 5 on the community center roof replacement project. In the new capital report, I noticed that there's an appropriation in there for $165,000. Of which $16,000 had been spent already. I just wondered if we could get some clarification on what we've spent money on already on that.
Usually that $16,000 is design costs. Yeah. Yeah, the designers don't make that much. It's all in the construction.
Are we still estimating that the 165 will cover it all? I wouldn't think so.
No, the 165 is not. So that's why it's been on hold for two reasons. First of all, I put all capital projects on hold until we had a state budget to know what Guilford was going to receive from the state, number one. Number two, that project was going to exceed the budgeted amount. So we're going to need additional appropriations before we proceed with that project.
Just remind me again, is that that's not a standalone bond, that's with other projects as well, so.
I'm sorry?
Is that along with other projects as well? That's not a skin?
Yeah.
So there might be, because, I mean, when we looked at these reports, a lot of times there's reallocations of monies based on how they come in, so.
That was part of a 2016 bond.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
I had one more question, and it was about the windows project.
Yeah.
I think the windows are the wrong color. Is that correct? That
Yeah,
I read?
welcome to the discussion on that one. We're going to bring it right into the
All
fire
right,
here.
this one will be interesting.
Let's just put it this way. The most important thing is this will not cost the town anything. There was some issue with the egress of the windows not meeting code, and there was issue with the color. The color came first. The egress issue obviously is more important and came a little bit later. I keep looking at Chris because he's on the standing building committee, and thank you for coming here as part of the standing building committee. And so the egress issue has to be corrected, and I believe it was about 90 windows. But all of that is on the onus of the contractor to replace.
Okay.
And the color is going to be up to the school system to decide whether or not they want to actually change the windows out or paint them. But that's really up to them. But the egress issue is there's no...
So how do we
absolutely no-
miss that egress issue? Don't we do some kind of inspection periodically, or?
That's how it came up. That's how it came up in the
Okay.
inspection after they were installed. Now, again, there are issues with the ordering, that they were ordered, and sometimes the people that are installing those items don't know exactly that it was off by a half inch or 3/4 of an inch. But they own it.
Okay.
It's more work, but they own it.
Will we wait for repairs till the summer?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
That my understanding is get those replaced as soon as they can get the order in, and probably do it over breaks.
All right. I found that one interesting.
Yeah, so did all of us. So, okay. Anything else on building committee?
I have one question to pose to Linda, I think, on item 12 and the financing for performance contracting. The Board of Ed is going to act first on that and then turn it over to the other two boards. Where is the Board of Ed on that right now?
I believe, I don't know if it was this week or if the date had even been determined, but there was an offer extended to the new Board of Ed members to meet and get caught up on the process because they
That's
wouldn't
tomorrow
really.
night. Might be
Is it
tomorrow
tomorrow
night.
night? Okay. So that's where we are.
I know-
we were all invited to attend tomorrow.
Okay. I know that there was some comment about waiting until the boards are settled and getting the election underway, away. And having all the boards in place and then having it go in front of the Board of Education and Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, so. Okay. If nothing more on that, pension committee minutes. I had actually one minor thing. And it just had to do with, on the third page, I don't know if I have a copy of them. Oh, I do. On the third page, there was just some, right at the top, Mitch Goldblatt had it, was discussing about the minutes and the responsibility that we have as a board to both the pension and standing building committee. I was more curious than anything why anything might have come up about the pension committee and the authority that Mitch had to bring that up. I was just curious.
Well, to be honest, I was on vacation for
Oh.
that meeting, so it says I was there, but I was.
Oh, okay.
You know, we always discuss at the meeting the concerns that the Board of Finance has. So, you know,
Which
it's
could have just
probably where it came
triggered a
from.
conversation.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
probably most likely part of the conversation.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was a reason behind it that we should be aware of, but it sounds like it may have just been a
No,
conversation.
purely because we,
Okay.
you know, we're sure to bring the comments of this board
Great.
to those meetings.
Right, thank you. Okay. Takes care of correspondence, I guess. Item number 5, review and accept report of expenditures for the Board of Education for October 2017. Linda and Amy, you're up. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Congratulations to new and re-elected members.
Same to you.
Thank you. October 2017 financial reports. The expenditures for the month of October were $4,546,200.61, which for this year is 28.69% of the budget compared to last year, which was essentially the same at 27.662% of the budget. We did receive a small amount of revenue for October, which was from pre-K tuition, Guilford Lakes. The warrant was $2,164,324.44, and we did discuss the warrants and all the details at our meeting last week. So if there really isn't anything, all the big numbers are special education tuitions that we pay out, but happy to take any additional questions.
Pass those around so they can have
Oh.
tuition report.
Question?
On either revenues or expenditures?
Sure.
On anything, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a question about in Linda's letter on purchase services, the water damage at Jones. We're putting in a claim for that, and I happened to notice I guess it was in the warrants, that there was $14,000 spent on that already. Does that cover the extent of the damage?
No, there were other costs besides just that one charge. I don't have the total of what that whole claim is going to be.
You wouldn't know what the whole claim is?
I don't have the total of that claim yet. Not with me.
What happened?
There was...
It was a combination
Yeah,
of...
it was a combination of pipes being backed up and water issues that got into places where it wasn't supposed to be.
Other questions?
Sounds messy.
Tends to be.
Matt?
I guess this may be the last time I get to ask questions of the Board of Education.
You can come to our meeting.
I just might.
Remember,
How do you think that'll play with Bill
remember
Bloss?
they can get even.
I'm going to go to the tuition account. Thank you very much for this document. This is very illuminating. First off, I noticed that the projected cost for private tuition is now estimated to be double what we had budgeted. And your excess cost grant is going to result in about a $400,000 increase in expenses over original budget. That's net of the excess cost grant, correct? And then we also have an additional almost about another $100,000 on the public tuition. And you're running, what, 54% versus 52% last year? And last year we had to appropriate an additional $287,000 to the board. Are you concerned? Are you starting to look at freezing anything at this point?
We haven't frozen anything per se. What we've been doing is we asked everybody to only spend a certain portion of their budget at the start of the school year.
Okay.
So they could only access 50% of some of their accounts.
Okay.
And we're releasing that now, starting to look at the second half of the year.
Okay.
We haven't frozen anything, sent out the memo saying
It's a little early,
frozen. We're just watching it very carefully.
Okay.
We're hoping that, if these numbers stay, that we can cover it within our budget and we should be fine. Just monitoring what we could. We can't put too much of a freeze on the site improvement because, as you can see, we've spent a lot of that already.
Already covered, yeah.
So we're trying to keep some money in facilities,
Okay.
hold off on a few other things that we can, and see where we are.
Okay. $500,000 is a lot of money to overcome by cutting corners, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Has there been any change? Has there been any more students coming into the system since the last report, or?
No.
No.
No. The numbers have stayed the same. We've just kind of redefined the costs a little bit as we start to get better information on some of the tuition rates.
Okay.
And what we're billing out for. We do have 2 students that we're billing out for tuition. We have 2 students from other districts that are attending our schools. So we are receiving a little bit of revenue for those programs. So, but thankfully, no additional outplacements at this time.
But that could also change either with students coming into the system or
being
the need of the students already in the system needing
Yes.
to go out of the system.
Mhm.
Okay. So even though it looks kind of defined right now, come back in a month from now,
It could be
It's
change.
our most
It could be completely-
undefined, potentially.
Mhm.
Right.
Just real quick, we were talking about enrollment and numbers. There was some enrollment numbers that we saw last month, but the final numbers were supposed to come in, right? Or
Yes.
Have they been determined?
Yes, that's
And
because it's done
were they
on
close?
October 1st.
Were those
Yeah.
enrollment numbers close to what were
They were very
told
close.
last meeting?
Yes.
So they didn't go up or down substantially?
I can send you out that October 1 enrollment report if you would
Well, that's the
like
final.
it.
That's the final
the
That's the
report.
final
Yeah.
official one.
That would probably not be a bad idea. So we all have that number.
Yeah. because otherwise you won't get it until you get your budget book in January.
Yeah, it'd be good to know it.
I'll send it out.
But that number that we're at is still approximately 250 students higher than what had been projected
By the-
on the last demographic
Yes.
study, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good point.
We wanted to redo that demographic study, but we're not able to do it.
It's not in the budget.
No, unfortunately, the demographer is no longer with us,
Oh, okay.
so we can't have him redo it.
That would explain it.
It's very unfortunate. Anyone else?
Yeah, I had two questions. These are smaller categories. One is a $200,000 category, the other is a $111,000 category, and they're both over, percentage-wise, by quite a bit. Building management, up by 18% at the comparable time of last year. And athletic, music, and other transportation, that may be a timing issue because there was nothing billed last year, pretty much. And so it shows 14-15% right now.
Yeah, the athletic, music, and other transportation is just a timing issue. That was, we just didn't have bills last year at this time. And the other one was, what one is building management?
Right above it, yep.
I don't see any issues with that one. That's just more of a timing issue. Those encumbrances that are there are a little bit more unusual from what we had this time last year.
Anyone else? On the operations, actually, anything else on expenditures of the report?
I just one other question.
Sure, go ahead.
On fuel for the buses and the special education buses, are those, they seem to be, fuel seems to be a little higher and special education buses seem to be a little lower. Is that a timing issue, or is that, I know when we first went to more students in-house, the cost of the special education transportation was higher than we had originally anticipated. Is this a result of better better data to base those numbers off of? Or?
Yeah. Yes. Well, for the special education buses, we there are one company that we haven't is a little bit behind on their bills.
Okay.
So that throws the timing off a little bit. There's also a change in the budget amount to try and get this line back to where it should be, which is going to throw off the percentages a little bit. The fuel is really just the fuel for the in-town buses, not the out-of-town buses. And that big difference is timing of actually the bill from the town for our fuel.
Okay.
We get fuel for some of the smaller STA vans from the town because they only have diesel at the yard. So they get gas there, and then we get gas for other things that are used by facilities from the town too. So
Okay.
that bill came in earlier than it did last year.
Okay. So that's timing.
And timing on that one.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else on the reports? I just wanted to, I don't know if you want to take an opportunity real quick to talk about the October 25th operations meeting, the budget, initial budget meeting. Reading through it, I saw that there were quite a few people that spoke about the start times and quite a few people that spoke about the blip, I guess, in the class size over at LEAT.
Yeah, and that was
And
something.
those were the two big items. And then there were a few speakers on the elementary school art class expansion. So just wondering if you wanted to provide a little bit of an update on those things, because I know we'll be talking probably more about those next month at our joint meeting, Board of Finance, Board of Education.
So the October 25th meeting was our first kind of go around with public comments. We do it every year, and then we'll have additional public forums in January once we have the budget and then it's presented. We essentially just open it up to the floor. And we did have, like you said, a large amount for those three causes. The easiest one to talk about is the Calvin Leet group. those parents came to us, we knew about it already, came to us soon after school started to comment, it's the third grade class, right? About this bubble of students in the third grade at Calvin Lee where the class sizes are the largest of all the elementary schools. The parents met with us, discussed it with us. They're quite reasonable, and they really just want us to be aware so that we can rectify it for next year.
Apparently, according to the minutes of the board meeting, you were going to be organizing a task force, and I wonder if you could comment on that. When is it being convened? What is the time at which the task force is going to explore this? Because there's huge financial implications of this
so the
thing.
task force is for school start times, not the Calvin Lee students.
School-wide.
Correct. So we were talking about the Calvin Lee increased enrollment in the third grade. That was the, well, I was just talking about the school start times, which did get brought around last year, and we did contract with an outside company to really look at any options that we could do to change start times, and the biggest concern being the high school early start times and the science that doesn't support that as a good practice. And at the time we received at least 3 options. The one that was the most palatable in terms of least disruption to everything also happened to be the one that was the most expensive.
Of course.
And Dr. Freeman didn't feel comfortable putting that forward in our budget, so it didn't. And so it's come back around for this year. A very dedicated group of parents and professionals came to us early in the school year meetings and requested that we revisit, not that we had ever stopped thinking about it, but wanted us to sort of ramp up the efforts again. And the suggestion, I think by the whole group, including the parents, was to have a task force so that it could be worked on outside of the large meetings and really brainstorm their many ideas. So that has started. I'm not on the task force, so I can't comment on what's happening. I believe they've only had one meeting, but I've heard that they already had come up with some creative ideas. The goal, if anything changes, is to be as cost neutral as possible, if that can happen. And we also, when we talked about it last time around, we had some public comments, we had opportunities for people to speak, and we got extremely mixed messages from citizens of Guilford in terms of people wanting to change it, people not wanting to change it. It was very hard for us to make any kind of assessment of what people truly wanted. So we did as a board, or we have as a board, made it clear at our early meetings this year that we need to hear something more definitive. We're not in a position, while we all agree on the science of the issue, we're not in a position to make a decision that isn't widely received by the town. So we're hoping that we hear more as we go on, and we're hoping to hear some good ideas out of the task force.
Just to go to Ken's question, timeline on that, is it intended to try to have something for this budget season, or is it?
Sure. So the group of parents and professionals that are working towards it, I think their goal would be to do something in the next school year. That's kind of all I have to say.
Okay.
That's their goal. Okay. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I remember discussing this actually a few years back, and I think the biggest cost differential was the logistics of transportation. Is there any other bigger items that'll be affected by this that may be more costly or maybe save us some cost?
Buses. It's transportation.
It's really the buses.
Geography of Guilford is extremely complicated, being like this and like this. And with the middle school bus run, which is essentially what causes the most problems, because the buses pick up, drop off at Adams, go all the way up to Baldwin, and do the reverse. The other wave of buses does the opposite. So the buses are traveling all over the place. They go into Durham in some places, and they go into Brantford in some places to make these loops. So that's the complication, and to solve that is what made the huge expense, because it essentially added buses and changed.
And then would that kind of very expensive option, what was roughly the cost differential?
The expense, that option was about $500,000.
Okay.
So,
Significant,
Yeah,
absolutely.
which is why we couldn't put that forward last year. But, I think the task force is a great idea. Lots of really smart people that,
Good mix.
lots of brainstorming. It's the best way to handle it.
Good.
And there was a third question, I can't remember. Oh, the art, right.
Oh, the art, yeah, that was brought up.
Another thing that
Yeah.
came up last year, again, at our public forums was parents that would like to see more arts in the elementary schools. Our schools share art instruction, and frequently by the time they get settled, and get going, they have very small amounts of time to do art. So these parents would request that we look into that and potentially increase our teachers. We did, like I said, hear about it last year, and we decided to move on the math coaching for last year's budget. So it's definitely something that's on the radar.
New year, new initiatives, or not so new initiatives, I guess. Okay.
Can I ask a question about the art? So I remember attending a meeting where some of the art teachers spoke about art, and I think they did complain if there was so much setup time. Is this to have a longer class period?
This would be so that the teachers didn't have to share. We don't have. Each elementary school, I guess, in theory, could have their own art teacher, or some way that could look. Right now, 2 elementary schools they share.
Okay.
So it's
The teachers are moving
in
back
terms
and
of a
forth
lot
between
of
schools. Understood.
not enough time in general, and then not enough time each time they meet with students.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for Amy or Linda?
I have
Ken?
one question related to a slew of invoices on pages 5 and 6, and mostly on page 5. It's about $50,000, did a quick check, of materials and services for auditory needs. And I wondered whether that's the extent of it, or are there additional expenses that we will incur in dealing with this particular student difficulty?
Well, it's not just one student. It's probably multiples. And the first 5 of the invoices that are there are an annual cost. So
Okay.
this is the whole billing for the year for the
Okay.
services for those. There are some other ones that are slightly different services, but the assistive listening services is annual charge.
So it's fairly modest and contained.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for October 2017 for the amount of $4,546,200.61?
Yes.
So moved.
Second? Oh. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions, recusals? Okay. Mary Jane's turn. Expenditures for town government. Assuming revenue?
I'd like
Start, or would you like to start off somewhere else? Okay, that's fine.
I have a couple other things I'd like to just bring to
Okay.
your attention.
Great.
We are almost complete with our audit. I actually have a draft on my desk already that we're hoping to have a final report this month. Our current first selectman will be signing off on that as we move forward. So I just wanted to let you know that we plan to come to the December meeting to bring our report. At this point, not expecting any material findings or any issues from this year, so
Good to hear.
been a much easier one the second time around.
Excellent.
The second item I'd like to talk about, my monthly review of where we are with our budget with the state. Last time I was here, we had expected a $251,000 surplus, which was a huge swing from the over $3 million deficit that we had anticipated at the start of this process. Since then, we've had a couple of items change in the budget or come to our attention, more stricter. We are losing the circuit breaker money, which last year we received $164,000. So I'm estimating that amount again this year, although that does fluctuate based on need. We also received just on Friday a notice from the state that there's an additional holdback amount of $267,000, meaning that they've put in the budget a certain amount, but they don't have the funds appropriated to pay it. That's another $267,000, which is made up mostly in ECS, $254,000, but that $254,000, or most likely a significant part of it, is the renter's rebate program. I'm not sure if it's been in the news, the renter's rebate program, where the state would send checks directly to the participants, and they have changed how they're running that program, and the towns now have to share in that. So it never flowed through our books or any part of our finances, but there is now the potential of an expense for a portion of that. What the state has done this year is said that all towns would have to pay half, up to $250,000. So I don't exactly know what our number is, but it shouldn't be more than $250,000. And they gave themselves the autonomy to take it from whichever grant they wanted. And they have, at the moment, chosen to reduce ECS for that. So this month's report is that we are at a deficit of approximately $180,000 in state funding. Still much better than where we thought we might be. Not that we want to see that, but it's just a moving target. Every day there's something new pops up in our emails about this, but I just want to make sure I keep you guys informed. Well, I know, not an excellent report, but good that I brought it to your attention.
Thank you for your update. Thank you. That's great.
Is there any date that they've given us to when it's finally going to be pinned down, or is this going to be a moving target until
I
July?
thought last month I was pinned down pretty much until Friday. They said, that they weren't going to give all of it. So the state unfortunately makes their own rules.
Actually, this is the governor. The legislature's budget, the bipartisan budget, included, I think it was $200 million that the governor had to find in his budget. In what appears to be a very punitive action, the governor went right back to the municipalities because he didn't get what he wanted originally, and there is already talk that the legislature may call themselves back in to address this issue and overturn it. I don't know how likely that is, but this was the provision in the budget that gave the governor the authority to make cuts in his budgets. He has extended that authority to some of these grant programs as well. So it's a parting gift on his way out the door.
And I noticed, I think it was today, that, and I know it's emails and things fly, but I know that there was some figures out there that I compared. I think there was a number of 466,000 that the new governor's projected reductions were going to be, was 466,000. But that's a moving target too, and I don't know what that necessarily included. It was one of those articles that comes out and it gives all the list of all the towns, and I looked at Brantford, I looked at Madison, I looked at all of them, and we were kind of like right in the middle of all those. But other towns were losing millions, so it's
the numbers. And I think Mayor Jane will back me up on this. The numbers we utilize are the ones that come from OPM, right. and from the legislature and OPM.
From CCM
right.
puts them together and determines, what our numbers are. They put all the towns together directly from OPM.
I wanted to bring it up because I know it was a public media source, and I'm sure other people would see it and say, well, they're saying on at the Board of Finance meeting it's this, and this is what I saw. So these numbers are fluid, and correct. So I think it's very important to understand that they're fluid, and it's not what you read necessarily. It's where we're getting the best information from, which is what you just said. So.
This is the latest information
Latest
I have.
and latest and maybe not greatest, but
Maybe not
latest.
the
We'll go with
greatest,
latest.
but it's the latest.
Okay, thank you.
I have a little question about the state revenue. Now that we have a budget, are we starting to see some of the money come in?
We have not yet. We keep asking that question, and they keep telling us they expect to get it out quickly. You see it at the first 25%, so to speak, of ECS normally comes in October. So on October 31st, when they passed the budget, November 1st, we were all waiting for our money, but it hasn't come yet. We keep asking, and they keep telling us it's coming. I have not seen anything yet. Guilford has not seen anything yet. I have heard through the grapevine other towns have seen some ECS money, but not Guilford.
Might feel a little better if the check's in the bank.
Absolutely. That's why I said I can't feel confident on any of these numbers. It's only the best information that we have to provide.
Understood.
Do we have any intelligence as to when that moving number will solidify? I mean, can they keep moving this around ad infinitum, or how can we frame budgets?
I think this gentleman has an answer.
Oh.
Yeah, keep in mind, regardless of what the budget is, it depends on how the state is collecting the revenue, that they can change the disbursements to the town any way they want. Just like they did in 2017, where they showed us $171,000 on ECS.
Right, and they didn't do that until our very last payment.
That's right, so it's always a moving target.
Thank you for the update. Now revenue?
Sure.
Okay.
What revenue?
Well, there is revenue.
This is as of the end of October, 33% through our year. As you can see, our numbers are pretty much right on to where we were last year, kind of right where we expect to be at this time throughout the year, at this point in time. Not a lot of big swings in significant revenue line items that we haven't already discussed, but you'll see the town is at 54% collected. Last year, about 53%. Brought in 0 ECS, where there's the 25% from last year that we should have received in October, and some other types of small state revenues that come in that they're not. We have other state revenues that aren't specifically budgeted through OPM, that those continue to come in. So we have received still a very small amount of those. And bottom line, we're at 52.4 collected at this point when we were at 52.3 last year. So do you have any specific?
Despite that.
Despite that,
we're right.
Correct.
We're
Correct.
there. Okay. Any questions on revenue?
I just want to confirm something. It's been a long time, but I think they always tell me that the fire department bill's a month behind. Is that?
We're typically
Okay.
behind, 1 month in arrears, yes.
Okay.
Your memory was correct.
About planning and zoning
And that
being a little bit low.
It really depends on, what they have on the table.
Right.
So.
And that very small bump in engineering and public works, that's the stump dump, according to the detail.
No?
I'm not sure on that, so.
Yes, it is.
They're a positive note.
Yeah, according to the detail, it would be
Right.
that, yes.
Transfer station, is that the transfer station?
No.
No. The transfer station is not on here. It's not a general fund department.
Shall we? Expenditures? If there was nothing else on revenue.
No.
Same story on the expenditures. Again, right where we think we should be at this time. Bottom line for the town, we're at 49.1% obligated. Last year at this time, we were 48.4% obligated, so we're very close. Unless you have any specific questions, nothing really jumped out at me that I thought I needed to report on today. So if you have some questions, I'll try to answer them.
Guess I'll ask about
Good,
information
Jonathan.
systems.
Okay.
Just being running a
That's
little
fine.
high.
I apologize. Some of these items I've already spoken about, but I apologize because obviously we have new members. The IT budget is higher at this point because our Munis contract, which is the largest part of that budget, was billed annually starting this year as opposed to quarterly.
I'm sorry,
So-
I actually read that in the notes.
Okay,
I
no
apologize.
problem. No problem. I don't
That's
mind
the
answering
reason.
another
Got
question
it.
I know the answer to.
You just can't ever ask
Those
it
are
again,
easy
that's
ones.
all.
You're
We'll figure out a
welcome, you're
hard one
welcome to ask
eventually.
me those every month.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
What about
Yes.
legal? Legal is up 12%?
We are in negotiations right now, contract negotiations, so it does skew our legal line at this point. So that's right.
Expecting that to be leveled off as the year goes on?
Yes, we've anticipated costs for that, so
Okay.
it's just front-loaded, so to speak, on the legal. Any other questions?
Ken beat me to it.
Oh, he beat you too.
Sorry.
Anything else on expenditures?
I have a couple of things about the sub-accounts, and they're really just a few questions.
Go ahead.
All right.
Okay, detail behind it?
Yeah, and it's just
Tell me
trying to
where you
remember
are.
how it all works, right?
Just tell me where you are.
I am on just page 2 of the expenditures, underneath the selectmen lines, and I'm looking at the line for part-time salaries pub, and I just can't remember why that's different from just regular part-time salaries. So it's really the 4th item down underneath the selectmen category. And it was just a curiosity why they're in separate budgets, line items and buckets.
You have to say you stumped me.
I was scratching my head about that one. A little deeper down. I was wondering, in legal, you've got, lines for salaries. This is actually maybe the 3rd page, near the bottom. You've got sub-accounts for salary, full and part-time, but then there's one for labor. Is that all for tax assessment appeals and...
No, those are our labor contracts.
Oh, that is for labor contracts, okay. Okay, one more. Okay, this is, I'm not sure how many pages deep in this is. It's actually page 7.
I was going to say there's a page number at the
Yep.
top. Yep, okay.
And this was for the golf course. And maybe the 4th item down, it was kind of a similar question. There's a part-time salary CLU.
Maintenance.
Okay, and part-time salaries for maintenance. And then the last one would be 2, actually, is
The clubhouse.
contracted services.
Contracted services is the,
Is that for the pro?
it is, the contracted pro, yes.
Okay, and then I was also curious about the bank charges. I didn't usually see that in the other groups.
That may be for credit card payments.
Yeah.
So that is-
And because this particular budget was outside of the general fund, all of those same charges have come into this budget here. We just recently moved it into the general fund as of July 1, so.
Okay, so it's really the credit card fees?
That's
I'm
my guess.
going to check on that.
All right.
Yeah, probably is. But that one is a new one, the golf course from
No longer
before,
part
so.
of its own budget is now part of the
It's
general.
now part of it, yeah.
It's been pulled into the general fund.
Correct,
Understood.
yes. Which is why you'll see if you looked in the revenue summary that I gave you, there was an asterisk next to the golf course, because this year there's no transfer from the general fund. So if you looked last year to this year, it's skewed because of that, so I've removed that.
Yep,
So-
makes sense.
But moving forward, will be apples to apples.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On the legal expenditures, there's part-time salaries, we have nothing appropriated for or budgeted for it, yet there's an expense for part-time salaries?
We had somebody filling in temporarily when there was somebody when we were without a position at that point, and it was put in this line item.
So I don't want us to go home at midnight, but there was a couple other things that I had some confusion on. There's some items that are negative. So like if I go to page 8.
Those are revenues that are brought in that offset expenses.
So this was like a revenue under the workman's compensation under the police department?
Yeah, so we expend the full amount in our salaries, and as workers' comp reimburses us, it offsets those costs.
Understood.
It's the way all the budgets were set up.
And I think the other ones were like licensing, maybe dog licensing. And
they'll all be
does the state
similar.
give us a kind of an amount of money for licensing?
It would be money. It would be money that we get in for licensing, and then there's expense back out for
Okay,
it. So
I follow you.
anytime you see a revenue line in the expense, it offsets something else within there.
Right.
So instead of just hiding those numbers in the expense line, they're specifically broken out so they can be seen.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on expenditures? Now, I might be a little out of order here, so bear with me. Just from piecing this together. Warrants, weekly or special fund warrants.
In general.
In general. I didn't print out that one. I looked at it, but I didn't print that one out.
Didn't have enough paper.
I didn't have enough paper at the time. Next month I'll be back to look at all the warrants. So anything on warrants?
I have a few, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Veronica?
I guess one is a question on office supplies. Do we have a bid for office supplies? And do we go out to bid on office supplies? And how long is the contract if we do?
I'm not sure do we bid out office? I know we have a contract with WB Mason.
Yeah, we do have to bid on that,
I
yeah.
didn't know how often we do.
Is it like a 3-year contract, do you remember, Joe? Or
I'm pretty much
something like that?
certain it's a 3-year contract.
That was most likely
It's with
done
WB
before I
Mason.
started,
Yeah.
so-
The director's correct on that.
I know the contract is with WB Mason, but I didn't know.
And then on page 20, at the very end, Pro Advantage LLC, a 1-year license. I know the field is very limited on what you can type in there to give a description on what that is. I'm just trying to figure out what.
That's our licensing validation software.
But what does Soup Meraki mean?
Support and Meraki is the name of the software.
Okay.
New dish.
Good job.
This is page 20.
Wireless.
You know, there was one that stood out for me a little bit. I see a golf membership for an individual, and I was curious why we paid for a golf membership for an individual. That was on
Where's that one?
page 3.
Which one are you on?
These warrants, the weekly warrants. It's only about $280.
How much?
So $280.
I think that was a refund for a member at the Guilford Lakes Golf Course who passed away, and his widow had asked for the refund because he never was able to use the membership, and the golf course commission granted the refund.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you, Joe.
It's not an employee.
Okay.
No, we weren't.
I was
paying-
wondering if it was part of the new benefits package. We get a
No, we
nine
weren't
holes
paying
in, you
for
know.
somebody's
I
membership.
would like that.
That wouldn't be too bad.
A lot of us at the table probably. Kent?
I have a question on special, on the special funds, the second item. Guilford High School, the $51,000 for the external lights. I'm just wondering where that money came from. Is it still, there's still some money in the huge Guilford High School construction project that was used for? Anybody know what? So that came out of the original budget.
That's correct.
Anything left in there?
Oh, yeah.
This is the last part of it.
Yeah, I actually had the same question you did on it says external lights. These are the lights that were replaced or reshielded, right? Because of the neighbors, there was a bit of a glare.
Yep.
So they redid those lights. Yeah, that was a really big
Yeah,
deal. So
so
it's
the
good to
last-
see that's done.
It's the last piece of the project that we were waiting to
That's
be
it.
completed.
Yep, that's
We
true.
were-
I haven't-
Other than
Now we're getting ready
contingency.
for the audit of the project.
Good.
will be,
Good point.
yeah, the committee will be having their last meeting and requesting to be disbanded, and the last part is to just pay out the contingency and wait for the audit or have an audit done on the
This
project.
item, this next item is considerably smaller. Go halfway down the page, $2,841, a refund for tobacco use cessation?
Oh, I knew somebody was going to ask that.
Oh, it's very interesting.
You were ready.
Well, we receive a grant. We receive a grant to do tobacco use cessation programs, and we did not use the entire grant. So
Okay,
what was left
okay.
over, we had to reimburse them. So that's what that is. It's going back to the.
Dennis Johnson, our health director, had received a grant to institute a program for what the finance director had just said, and there was no one who signed up for the program, so we had to return the grant. Broke my heart, but that's what we had to do.
Yeah,
That's why you see it
Very
went back to the
useful
state of
grant.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's, you know, if we don't use the
You don't
funds
use
for
it,
what
you
they're
gotta return
for,
it.
we have to return them.
Of course.
Normally we don't, but
Mm-hmm.
that one we did.
First one we've had, at least I'm aware of.
I don't remember ever returning the grant.
Okay.
That's it.
Any,
We need some more smokers in the town, I guess.
anything else on warrants?
Yes, me.
I have another
Veronica?
question.
Yes.
I think I know the answer, but I just want to make sure. On page 28, beer for tournament, is this for the concession at the golf course, and is it for resale? Do they resell it to their members?
It was a special event where the selectmen allowed them to serve alcohol just for that one-time event.
Yeah, that was a tournament that the commission held, was open to the public, and the finance director said selectmen did grant an exemption to serve alcohol, which I'm here, so it's the same thing.
You know those golfers. I'm one myself, I can say that, so.
I had a question.
Actually, they had cut it short. It was a two-day tournament. That was the October storm, 28 and 29. Somebody had it on the 28th.
Go ahead. Which is page 10 of the warrants. I'm not questioning the amount, just what the laser color compass is. 29,000, it's about half.
Oh, that's the thermal imaging camera, which has a color compass on it.
Okay.
But that's, TIC is thermal imaging camera.
Okay. That's for the fire department? Or who's it? Who uses it?
Yeah,
Okay.
EMS. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Ken?
I had a question on the warrants on page 60. I just wondered about, is when you see the two warrants for Guilford Napa, there's a total in there of about $6,300, and I wonder whether that was done on bid, or whether we just bought that from a local vendor without bidding it.
Again, I'm not sure on that.
It's a large amount of money to give to a local vendor.
Our bid threshold is 7,500.
Is it?
25,000. Not bid threshold. 25,000.
So with something like this, they can go buy it anywhere.
No.
It was 2 different months. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I know that, but
Wait, Linda, go ahead.
I think that dollar amount requires 3 written quotes, so they have to check with 3 different vendors, get written quotes, because we follow the same policy. So they would have had to get quotes for that.
so this was
I
checked.
would guess we have a blanket purchase order with Napa. It's probably within the bid threshold, is my guess. But I will certainly look into that and let you know.
Anything at the $7,500 level has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen after getting the 3 quotes. but the $25,000 level requires a bid process.
Yeah, purchasing doesn't fall under me, so I'm not always, I'm not the one watching for those items.
We had some fill-in, so you're okay. We're good. Okay. Anything else on warrants? Okay. Now, the next items I have are the multi-year capital project reports.
Okay, I need you to approve.
So- Oh, well, I was...
You're going to do that last?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, again, I might be out of...
That's okay. As long as we don't forget to do it,
We're
that's all.
all on town stuff here.
As long as we don't
We're going
forget
to
to do
cover
it,
everything,
that's all.
and then we'll let you go. But then we're not going to let you go because then there's another agenda item.
That's right.
So, first of all, thank you on the multi-year capital projects. For the first time in a while, I think we've all seen this. And I had a lot of comments on it, but they were all just more questions for myself. And I guess the biggest question I had, and just more, maybe more reminder, for the board, is there is the one that basically covers fiscal year 5 through 11 that has a lot of the projects on it that are older, the bonding that's older. At what point do those close out? I remember having this discussion before about at what point do you finally close it out? Now, obviously, I would think that if there's encumbrances, you can't do anything about it.
It is on my agenda to do. When we went through our bonding this last time, I had conversations with our financial advisors and our bond counsel, and told Joe that I was looking to get rid of some of these old ones. So I've already put them on notice. We already, before the next time we go out for bonding, I'm looking to, reallocate them, deauthorize them, and
when a few of us
close them down, especially when you look.
I think some of us saw synthetic turf and almost fell over, but then realized it's closed. But it
right,
shows up on the report.
Yeah, some of them they go back and
they go back.
Just hasn't been done in a while. So
good. Okay, as long as you.
It's my goal to get that done. We did talk about that already to do.
Good. As far as other ones that, there's quite a few that I could easily ask the status of where they are, but I think that if you're in the process of cleaning these up, especially the older ones, obviously some of these are newer, both on the town side and, well, I should say newer and older on the school side. That there are some that do have encumbrances, but they're very, very small amounts, yet they seem to be mostly expended.
Right, and the reason there was a delay in these reports is really because of the encumbrances. The way our system handles them is very convoluted, and it's just a real manual system. And as I started to go through them, I found where we had closed out a number of purchase orders over time, yet they were still showing up in the project line items. So I've been pulling those out as I was going forward, and there's a lot of other columns that I didn't print for you that has this. So as up to date as I like to think these are, there's even more work to do on them because of that. So even some of the encumbrances you're seeing should no longer be there, and it's just been a headache for me, I have to admit.
Would you mind, as an exercise for us, going through the reconstruction of Long Hill Road, that line item? Because that was, another big,
correct. Long
big
Hill Road,
invoice out today.
I have to tell you, Long Hill Road, the number there is inaccurate. The amount of revenue, I don't know what happened to that number on the revenue. I have no idea where it even came from. But Long Hill Road, actually, as of September 30th was about $2.1 million, and I have $634,000 left to collect, and that is primarily some early design work that the state has held up our funding purely because of staffing on their end. They lost some people, and Jim Portley and I write to them every week looking for a status, and we're hounding them, so we're hoping to get that in soon. And then just our last payment to Trademark from the month before. As I've reported in the past, we have a very good system on this particular grant. We pay in 1 month, we submit the reimbursement, it comes the very next month. So it's actually been working very well. I know that the amounts that we're paying out are high, but the revenues are coming in.
They are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we're only responsible for 10%. It's
Right.
80% federal, 10% state, and 10% us, right?
80% federal, 10 state,
10 us, that's what I said, yeah.
And the 10 that comes from local is really LOSIP money, which is state anyway.
But we had to put money in the budget to pay those initial bills, because like with all the state grants, we have to pay first before we're reimbursed.
Have we received any LOSIP money?
This year, no.
Yeah.
LOSIP is one of the grants that they've been playing with up at the state level.
Yep.
Just on the multi-year, so what do you, as far as updating these, and I know it's been very busy at the office with the audit and everything, but
I plan to provide these every quarter.
Every quarter.
So,
okay, just so we know what to expect.
Yes. So
the fact that we finally, we got them and we can look at them and kind of.
Again, I apologize for the delay.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then last couple of things here. Medical. Medical was higher than last year, but still below what we had projected.
Correct. We had another good month.
Yeah.
October was another good month, coming in under than what we're anticipating. And if you remember, we lowered our budget because of the Board of Ed's HSA, and it's great that the numbers are flowing in the right direction, so to speak. Right. So at this point, we are estimating a fund balance of $2.6 million. If all goes according to our budget. Catastrophic claims early in the year, so they're kind of small. If you remember, I did report that we had to increase that because of the experience we've had over the last few years, so we'll see how well that does for us again this year.
It's still early in the year to be able to...
It's too early in the year, right, to really see.
Okay. Thank you. And then permits, I just noticed that, hey, we're on average, we're about average of the last 9 years. So if we trend the way we've been doing on permits. Anything else from Mary Jane?
No, she has something.
Yep. Well, why don't we do the,
My staff will never forgive me if I leave here and you haven't approved.
No. Okay, so a motion to approve report of expenditures for town government for October 2017 for the amount of $2,093,465.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain. There's a payment to my firm. And
Okay. Recusal?
I'll recuse myself.
Yeah. Any others? Okay. And the next item on the agenda is the transfer of $110,000 from unassigned fund balance to assigned fund balance. I was wondering if I should just read this, or do you want to just go over it?
Nope, you can go right ahead. It tells the whole story. I'll just add that...
Read it, you think? Okay.
The selectmen did approve this morning at their meeting.
Okay. Just for the audience, funds were budgeted in fiscal year 17 to cover estimated retroactive pay for contracts currently under negotiation. I am recommending those funds be transferred into the assigned fund balance reserved for personnel to be available for use once negotiations are complete, I being Mary Jane. Therefore, request the Board of Selectmen approve and make a favorable recommendation to the Board of Finance to transfer $110,000 from unassigned fund balance to assigned fund balance reserved for personnel as of June 30th, 2017. And I believe we need to...
Yes. That this morning.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions.
Any questions on that? Okay. Form of a motion?
So moved.
I'll move that we transfer $110,000 from the unassigned fund balance to the assigned fund balance as a reserve for personnel to cover estimated retroactive pay.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Okay.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
Mary Jane, the auditors will be producing a number of undesignated fund balance, unassigned fund balance that will be $110,000 in excess of what we actually have there because of this transfer, correct?
They're
Or-
already aware of this transfer.
So-
It will be
It'll be-
in
It
our
will be-
audit. The funds
will
will
be.
be
Reflected?
reflected the way you just made your motion in the audit. Because the motion is as of June 30, 2017.
Okay.
Or my request was at least.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's what the motion just said. I don't,
What, do I need to amend my
I
motion?
think, I think you have to.
Because the date wasn't in there, the
Exactly.
June 30th?
Exactly.
Okay. Then let me...
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, now we got to go into Robert's rules here.
No, it's not Robert's rules, it's-
I'd like to amend my motion.
We don't want any questions
We'll
later
approve
on.
it anyway. Yeah.
What-
Oh, I'm sorry, here you go.
Thanks. All right. I'll move that we transfer $100,000 from the unassigned fund balance to the assigned fund balance for the reserve for personnel as of June 30, 2017.
That's the motion.
Does that work?
It works.
Second?
Second?
Or, it could be anybody, right? Doesn't have to? Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? I'll just throw that out there. Okay? Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you. That'll be reflective in your June 30th.
Thank you.
Now you're all
Thank you,
set.
Mr. White.
Consider it a parting gift. Sorry, Mike.
I told you you were going to be missed. Anyway, consider and take possible action on the Board of Finance meeting calendar for 2018. Pretty standard on the third Monday of the month. I don't know, do we usually say anything about the dates in the public hearings now, or?
All the more
We do.
information to get out in the public, the better is mine.
I thought maybe it would be appropriate to tell everyone that the special meeting on the budgets presented to the Board of Finance will be Thursday, February 15th. Again, all these are 2018. Budget public hearing on Tuesday, March 6th. Workshop number 1, Thursday, March 8th. Workshop number 2, if needed, March 12th. That's a Monday. Tuesday, April 3rd will be the annual budget meeting, and Tuesday, April 10th is the tentative referendum on the budget date. Ken?
Yeah, I have one addition to the calendar, which would be for January 16th. That follows the meeting, the joint meeting with the Board of Education on December 18th, the second meeting that we have with them, and that will be on January 16th before our meeting on January 16th. So I think that should be part of the calendar.
Has it been before? It hasn't been.
No, that is a joint meeting, so it is not part of the official
Oh, okay.
Board of Finance
Okay.
calendar that needs to be approved every year.
Oh.
But it's good that you brought it up, because folks will know that that's what we're,
Yeah,
and people are welcome to attend those meetings as
Those
well.
are
Yeah.
public meetings. They're open.
Are these the town meetings we have in the day?
No,
Are those
Workshops.
reflected on this calendar?
no, they are not. Those are not Board of Finance meetings.
All
This
right.
is only Board of Finance meetings required by charter to be published, because they're our meetings.
All right, understood, but I'm also interested in those dates.
Those dates will be coming out relatively shortly. These are the workshop, the
town
budget, the
workshops.
departmental budget workshops, which will be in the second or third week of January. You'll get those relatively
We'll
soon.
get-
It's on Matt's calendar, day one, to talk.
We will get those in December, and we will make sure that they're announced to everybody in December at our meeting. But to go to your point, we do have subcommittee meetings before that, in the December meeting in
In
January,
December.
with the Board of Ed. Okay. My only, I know we have to act on it. My only question was, this is just,
You'll get another copy.
Another copy that I'll have to sign it.
Because you're the new chair.
well, I just want to make sure that there's officiality of
Can't
things
sign
going on. Yeah. You could sign it, but it probably won't mean anything now. Sorry. Okay.
But you approve it, it becomes...
Yeah, and we have to act on it. So do I have a motion, hear a motion in favor of the, to approve the schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Committee reports. Old business.
I just have, just to follow up on what was said at the beginning of the meeting, a couple things. First, this is Joe Mazza's last meeting with us. I'd like to thank him for his many years of service, to echo on what John he's got,
Here.
For those of you who can't see him at home, he's got a very broad smile on his face. I wish him the best of luck in his retirement. I'd like to welcome Jonathan back and Kenan back, and Veronica, welcome aboard. And lastly, I'd like to thank Matt Hoy for his years of service. When I was first elected, I reached out to Matt, and he was extremely generous with his time to walk me through the budget process, the meeting process, the reports that we'd get, and it really meant a lot to me that he took the time to spend with me, and I've never forgotten that. I really just want to say thank you for the time you spent with me. Thank you for the time that you've spent with all of us here on the board. Thank you for the time that you spent on behalf of the town, and I want to wish you every success as you become first selectman next month, and I just want to thank you for all that you've done for the town and for me personally. Thank you.
And I would like to
Thank
add
you, Jeff. Ken.
also thank you for your years of service, and I think that Jeff summarized it well, that you have been generous with your time, and we appreciate that and wish you well in your new pursuits. And we'll continue to work closely, I'm sure.
I'm just going to be on the other side of the table now. Ex officio. Thank you very much for all your kind words. And I look forward to working with you. It's going to be relatively quickly. We'll be starting to talk about budgets pretty quickly.
Yep. Right there, right around the corner. Yep. Got it. Anything that was old business, new business, I think. Public forum. First Selectman Mazza.
Thank you. Well, Jeff, thank you, and all thank you for those remarks. I want to welcome Jonathan and Veronica. Nice to see you all again. And Mike, congratulations on being chairman. I won't wish you condolences. It's a good job. Matt, this is probably the last time I'll be able to say this, but congratulations on succeeding me. It's a good job. It's a very honorable job, and I think you'll do well. And I want to say to this new board, it is new board. You'll have 3 new members. I think you're going to choose one at your next meeting, from what I heard. You're going to have a difficult task ahead of you. The next budget, which you're about to enter, I guess in a month or so, is going to be tough, knowing the position that the state is in. They're not going to treat towns like Guilford very kindly, as you can imagine. So it's going to be tough, and it's going to be a juggling act to be fair to the taxpayers and to deliver the services that our taxpayers are used to getting and deserve. So I don't envy, believe me. But I know you're all going to do a great job. And I want to thank you for all your support, for all the, I guess my 24 years. I know Ken and Matt have been with me for that many years. So again, thank you very much for all your help and support. And I just want to say thank you, and I'll catch up with you sometime. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Means a lot. Anybody else wishing to address the board in public forum? If not, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded and moved, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well done, Mike.
Thank you.